In this presentation, I'm going to talk about distributed ERT, and actually it is about the application of ERT algorithm when the data is in distributed format and it is stored on different sources. And I'm going to give this presentation in three parts. First of all, I'm going to what kind of problems that we are going to address, and then I will proceed to solution, which is the ERT algorithm, and how we are using the ERT in distributed fashion, and how it is possible. And finally, I will talk about the evaluation of classifier after being learned. First of all, the problem. Uh, First, we need to know about the characteristics of the data. The data that we are going to address we are going to use for learning is structured, and there will not be missing values on it. And the values for the attributes are either categorical or numerical, and the data is horizontally partitioned. And then the problem that we are going to address is classification, which is a supervised learning problem. And what I mean by structured data, when the data can be stored in a spreadsheet like this, it can be called structured data. In a structured data, we have columns as attributes, and we have rows of data as records, different records. And there are also another type of the data called unstructured, and those data, for example, images, audios, and text can be considered as unstructured data. In this problem, in this distributed ERT, we are going to address structured data only. And these columns are either attributes or labels. For example, here we can see that these two can be considered as our attributes, and these can be considered as the label for the data. And each one of these rows are records. That can be for different individuals or for different cases, for example. And the values in these for every one of these records, those can be numerical or categorical, are called our values. And in our data sets, we can sometimes have missing values. It means that we don't have the value for one specific record or for one specific attributes in a record in the data, and this can be due to different reasons. For example, when one patient which have one record does not want to share his or her information. So these are missing values that I highlighted here, and we address only the problems that without missing values, the problems that the data set is without missing values. And our data attributes can only be categorical or numerical. By categorical, I mean the values for those data can be only categories, like the gender or the marital status. And the numerical attributes, the values for the numerical attributes can be numbers, continuous, or it can be continuous or integers, like age, height, or weight. And then when we say horizontally partitioned data, we mean that the records the whole part of one record, like the record one, is stored in one of the sources or one of the sites. For example, here the record number 1 and 2 are stored in source 1, and the record 3, 4, 5 are stored in source 2. So as you can see, the data is horizontally partitioned. So the data that the data that we want to address in this problem is horizontally partitioned data. In contrast, we have vertically partitioned data that we are not going to address at the moment, and these are two different examples of vertically partitioned data. When different attributes of data records are stored on different sites. For example, here outlook and temperature is stored in site 1, and humidity and windy is stored in another site. And these can be one type of vertically partitioned data. In the other type, it's called arbitrary partitioning of data. Is the different values for one record can be stored on different sites. For example, here the outlook for record 1 is stored in site 1, and the temperature is stored in site 2 for the same record. But we are going to only address horizontally partitioned data at the moment. And what do we mean by supervised learning? When we have the labels for our data, it is called supervised learning. For example, here we have the labels yes or no for our records. The labels can be categorical or numerical. When the labels are categorical like this, we have two categories. Or the labels can be like this. It can be numerical or continuous labels. And for these problems that we have categorical labels, we call them classification. Usually, we want to learn a classifier which can separate different categories. And for these kind of problems, it is called regression problems. This is also supervised learning, but we want to fit a curve on these data samples. But we are going to only address the classification problems that we have categorical labels for our data records. Like here, we have yes or no for as our labels, two different categories only. So this would be our problem. Then I'm going to talk about the solution in the next part.